Get your tickets now for the 23rd annual edition of the OUTshine LGBTQ Plus Film Festival, happening April 23rd to May 2nd. Don't miss our incredible grand opening drive-in event, followed by 10 days of non-stop films from here and all around the world that you can watch at home. Watch trailers and get your tickets at OUTshineFilm.com now.
Hello, everyone. My name is Victor Jimenez. I'm your executive director for the OUTshine LGBTQ Plus Film Festival, 23rd Annual Miami Edition. We're presented by Gilead and Miami-Dade County, and we also brought to you with the support of our... So if you're not a member now, please consider supporting the festival and becoming a member. And then now let's get to it, the virtual Q&A for Raw Uncut Video. Let me bring in first co-directors Alex Clausen and Ryan White into the studio. How you doing, Alex and Ryan?
Great. How are you, Victor?
Hello. Doing well. Should be a great Q&A because we actually have some additional participants in terms of subjects featured in the film. So first, let me bring in Steve Thrasher, aka Thrasher, and his mother, Susan Shaw. And then also we have the man himself, Donnie Russo. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome. Hello.
So first, the first question really is going to be to Alex, Ryan, and it's basically kind of my standard first question for documentaries is, you know, why did you guys make the documentary? What was it about the idea that you wanted to like take your film, go out there, do the interviews, and then get the hours and hours of footage and piece it together? What was behind the idea that you wanted to create this film?
Sure. So Alex and I had worked on a short project about cruising on the Russian River. And for that project, we had interviewed Jack Fritcher. When we met Jack, we kind of got to know him and Mark Henry, his husband. And as the friendship sort of unfolded, they started talking to us about Palm Drive Video. And I had never heard of Palm Drive Video before. But I've always been interested in kind of the history of AIDS activism and the AIDS epidemic, and specifically how the leather and kind of kink communities really stepped to the forefront to kind of raise awareness and sort of kind of reach out to AIDS communities at that time, and specifically use sex positivity as a form of AIDS activism. And so as we kind of got to know Jack and Mark, and they said, oh, we did these videos and we thought of them as this sort of safe sex kind of opportunity to kind of show people other ways that they could explore their sexuality safely, and they saw it as a safe sex service to the queer community at that time. Alarm bells went off in my mind. I went, hey, Alex, this is going to be a great project.
Well, and also at the time, both Ryan and I lived in the Russian River area, and it was just sort of this incredible local story that we didn't know about. And it doesn't seem like queer history had been well recorded in the area. It seems like people are just starting now to do that. And it was a great way to sort of delve into local history for us.
I'm actually glad you said that. This has actually been, for some reason, I've done almost all the documentary Q&As, and one of my standard things that I say, the shortened version of the mission of the festival is to inspire, entertain, and educate. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, kind of, quite frankly, before the 60s, a lot of LGBTQ history has been not documented or, quite frankly, erased, by the gatekeepers. So it is important that, for filmmakers like you and plus the other ones that are the documentaries and the films, that you are kind of recording this history, for our community. So it's there and it's kind of mandated. And it's also interesting, like every year there's always kind of like an overriding theme for the film selection. And for whatever reason this year, it's been a lot of like, HIV, AIDS activism, 80s and 90s, which, like you just said, this film kind of ties into it. And one of the things that, quite frankly, it caught my attention, you have these fetish videos, S&M, leather, but it was all actually safe sex. I never actually thought about it that way until it was pointed out in the documentary. When you reached out to Mark and Jack, were they all for the idea and they were just gung-ho to work with you, or did it need some type of convincing to get them on board?
No, not at all. They were so incredibly generous.
Yeah, I figured with that archive that they've been doing, it was great in gold. And then actually to kind of with Donnie and Thrasher in reaching out to the models that were featured in their videos, was it really difficult get a hold of everybody and then convincing, obviously not the three in this call, but the other ones, convincing them to be part of this documentary?
Yeah, it took a little bit of detective work to find folks. A lot of folks kind of were, performed under different names. A lot of folks have passed away. But luckily, Donnie was very receptive when we first reached out to him. We actually met Steve through his mother, Susan. Jack and Mark introduced us to Susan, and then we kind of chatted a little bit with Susan, and she said, "Hey, I think, Thrasher might be interested in doing an interview." But yeah, there was a lot of folks that we could not contact or that we could not find.
It happens. Out of curiosity, how much footage did you end up going through to then create the documentary? Because that's one thing I always want our audience to know. Documentaries are tough because you just have typically a mountain of stuff to go through, and then you gotta edit it all down. How much happened? How much did you guys have to go through to finally create the finished product?
Hours, and I mean, what is it, Ryan? 200 plus hours. I mean, they had. They did roughly around 150 films, and we had all the camera originals. So it's all the, before they started, shooting, and just everything from start to finish before editing. So it was just, and tons of stuff they recorded of themselves. They seem to record everything of themselves too. So it's a pretty remarkable archive.
It's always a benefit of the documentary filmmakers that when the subjects actually have a lot of their own stuff, or they just public figures in some type of way. So kind of directing the next batch of questions to Donnie, Susan, and Thrasher, we actually have some special guests that are going to be presenting you your questions. So we actually have some questions coming in from Jack and Mark themselves. So give me a couple seconds here, and I will cue the first one up.
Perfect.
Oh, hold on one second. And of course, hold on one second. Let me try the other question first.
I haven't seen either one of them in at least 10 years, maybe 15.
There we go.
Hey.
Hey, Mark.
I think Mark is just staring here. What's going on?
Woohoo.
Looks pretty serious.
Oh, listen, these men have changed a million times over the last 30 years. It's just incredible. Yeah.
A couple of interesting characters, that's for sure.
There are.
Well, not sure
Spellbound.
what happened there, but let's see. Actually, let me go ahead and ask my own questions, and then while you're kind of answering, I'll figure out the issue with the question there. So, Donnie and Thrasher, just for our audience to know, you guys actually haven't seen each other in about 28 years. What's it like actually, I guess, being in this virtual room together? I mean, I guess, actually, the question is going to be two parts. When you guys actually first met 28 years ago, how was that meeting? And then how is it seeing each other 28 years later? And I guess we'll start with you, Thrasher. You want to go first?
Well, I had no idea who he was as far as him having a career or anything. He was just another guy that Jack and Mark were filming. And I think I had done a couple other with a husky guy down the street, more wrestling type of stuff or whatever. And so I didn't know of his illustrious career on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we just, there was no script or anything like that. It was great meeting him, we kind of clicked. Made like a workout video thing with, I don't know, sexual undertones, if you will, the way I remember it. And now it's kind of a trip. I can't believe it, man. 30 years later, really. But it was nice. Victor was saying earlier about, somebody had mentioned how it's always it's a freeze frame of me at that time. So I'm thankful for that. And it's great to see him. He looks good.
It does.
So, should I go?
Yeah, go ahead, Donnie. Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Well, yeah, because I actually that was the first time I had met Jack and Mark, because I was working for multiple other studios, and the affiliation in which Mark and Jack had with Close Up, which was Steve Johnson, who I was close with for Close Up Production, had told him and about me and stuff. And Mark, like I said, it's a small community in relations to that. So I went up for a week, 10 days up to their house. And I remember of Asher is, Jack was just, telling me about, ideas that he had. And basically, he had told me about Asher and he said to me, he's a straight guy. He goes, and I'm going you two to, meet and stuff. And basically, again, that movie was not scripted. It was just, what you saw is what was actually happening. There was no where somebody would say, okay, do X, Y, and Z. So the realism of it is the sexuality of it and the rawness of two men meeting, not knowing anything about him except for Jack, and again, it's the 90s, and to me, because of my I had years in already, doing porn. So the thing about it was that, the gay for pay thing was a big, quote unquote, 90s, or early to mid 90s, So I never knew what to expect. But, and that night I still, in my head, I see it as I'm sitting here right now. And, and it's just funny because I wish I could bring it totally out, but there was just a naturalism to it, and if you see it and you watch it, that's what I feel that you walk away from that movie and scene with us in it, and again, it was a great movie, and like I
Never
said,
saw it.
well, you know what? You should see it, at least once, because, one, it's a point in your life, wherever you were and whatever you were doing. And again, it's hot. And again, I have to stress, that it was the naturalism of it,
Yeah. Well,
we were brought together. You didn't know nothing of me. I never saw a picture of you. I never saw anything until you walked into that shed. That was when, all I was told about you was your name, and then, that you were married and that you lived down the road. And, it was just basic, a very, generic, situation. But again, I think, the movie is, a very good one. And, I'm actually proud of that one.
So
Well,
I
cool.
think we got the, let's see if we can get the question in from Jack and Mark. I think I worked out the issue, so let's give it a go here.
Come on, buddy. It's pretty cool to hear the music, that the movie explained like that, being that I hadn't seen it.
Take two.
Hey.
Hi, everybody. Hey, Steve, this bud's for you.
Uh-oh.
Way that Donnie is a gay avatar of Palm Drive Video, you are our straight avatar. Thank you both for joining in our art project showing an authentic gay man with an authentic straight man. It may be the only video of its kind. Our Palm Drive photos of you have been published in many gay magazines. So, 3 quick questions. 1, as a straight man, why did you decide to let us film you? 2, how do you feel about thousands of men jerking off to your non-toxic masculinity on stage and screen? 3, do you ever have to explain to people that you were an actor in an action movie in which there is no sex? Thanks.
That's all me, huh?
That's all you. That's
All
all
right.
you go, and maybe Susan, if you can actually react to, like, being the mother, that it might be a good crossfire, I guess, there for it. But go ahead, Thrasher. You can start.
Well, I believe the first one was, why would a straight guy make a gay film or a film that's perceived as gay? The whole premise of Jack and Mark's thing was safe sex. The AIDS epidemic was at its height. There were people who I knew that had contracted AIDS, and my brother had asked me. My brother was gay, my older brother, and I'm a bit of an extrovert and a performer. And hey, what could it hurt, man? I wanted to be preserved in my 20s, by these guys were obviously pretty unique, doing an incredibly unique thing. I didn't want to miss the opportunity to be a part of that. And straight or gay, I was comfortable with my sexuality at the time, so I wasn't afeared, and I was comfortable with it, comfortable with myself, and I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Okay, number 2, thousands of men jacking off to me. Hey, what do you say to that? Good for them. I hope they, I hope it works. And I have to explain them an action movie with no sex in it. Yeah, how do you explain that? I mean, I guess there's some out there. It was more I'd look at it like Hitchcock, he would only show you things enough to let your own imagination take hold of his idea and make it scary. He didn't actually show you blood and gore, and so this is like, they don't actually show you, cocks and balls. I mean, I guess some of his movies probably do, but without that, still making them sexual. How's that?
Well,
It's good. And then
it certainly was.
Well,
so Susan, I'm kind of curious, how's your reaction, to back then, knowing your son was going to be in these videos, and then, I mean, obviously you're very comfortable with it. You're here today for the call, and you were part of the documentary. But what was your reaction back then when you kind of found out?
Well, this is interesting. All 3 of the boys were very different and very unique in their own way. I mean, Billy came out when he was 15. The Calvin, who knew? I mean, he was my Brad Pitt. And then there was Steve. I mean, he was the youngest. He got overshadowed by the other 2. He was my meat, potato, and vegetables man. I mean, he was just going to be like, I was going to say straight down the middle, and I don't mean it that way. But anyway, so when I found out he was going to do one of these Palm Drive videos, I thought, there is a Stephen I haven't paid attention to. How exciting. And first of all, we lived next door to Jack and Mark. I think I would do anything they ask because I know who they are. And they're just marvelous. So I thought, oh, isn't this wonderful? Steve's going to get his spotlight. Really. And gay, whatever, balls, cocks, leather. I don't care. I don't care. I thought it was fascinating that Steve would step in. Really proud of him.
Yeah, and it is kind of like interesting. Like you can tell from your attitude, maybe that's where Steve felt comfortable, because I think you said it correctly in the question. Your non-toxic masculinity was kind of what really allowed you to go ahead and do it. We do have the other question from Mark now. I'm able to play that one, so I'm going to go ahead and play that one right now. Give me 1 second.
No.
Oh wait, Susan, you want to say something?
Yeah. What did you say about non-toxic? I didn't
I
get.
like that line. Non-toxic masculinity.
Yeah, Jack in his question, he referenced that Steve was a good example of like exhibiting non-toxic masculinity.
Oh,
meaning
yes.
that, yeah.
Yes. I thought I was
comfortable in sexuality. Like he didn't have an issue.
Non-toxic. Yeah.
Masculine.
Yeah.
No, I was saying I've been described in many ways. I don't think non-toxic has ever been.
I guess it's all relative. It depends on the scale.
But anyway, to answer the first question too, my brother Bill asked me to do this. My older brother Bill, who was gay. Oh yeah, he thought it would be a wonderful thing, and then I did it, and then I ended up in Drummer magazine, which is a gay magazine in San Francisco, in the center page, and he got all jealous, and he was like, "Oh yeah, my straight brother makes it to Drummer, and I can't even get an ad in their article or nothing."
He did.
I felt accomplished somehow.
All right, now we'll do the question from Mark. So let's get it there.
Hi guys, I have a couple of questions for Donnie Russo. Do you feel that your early work with Palm Drive influenced your later work with other studios, and if so, how? Also, when we first asked you to do a solo video with us, we knew that you could hold down the screen. Do you feel Home Alone revealed more of you personally than any other video with other studios or with other actors? Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about me is I have many. I'm like an onion. You peel back. There's all different layers. And at the time, I was always testing the waters. And with Palm Drive, I mean, I was able to extend more of who I was and what I was about in relation to any other studio at the time. So, with that factor, I mean, there again are so many things that I was doing off screen that I wish I was doing on screen. But again, the culture at the time, you just couldn't do the things that are done today. I mean, from everything from, piss videos and to a range of everything else underneath the sun, which, I've been and I've done, and I've done since I was a teenager, but I was apprehensive to really extend because of, the taboo at the time. I mean, it's still coming in, through the 80s with, being dominated by blonde surfers. There was a very slim market and of acknowledgement of knowing about them in the 80s until the later part and until the 90s. But you were still under FBI, with what content you did and what content you provided. So a lot of the stuff I did underground with other companies. But again, people died, and along with that, those products and those videos are no longer around, sadly. But and you know, Home Alone again was me breaking out, and again, you know, with all who I am and what I am and what I'm about, and you know, the realism is there. I mean, you know, again, you just anybody that knows me, even the larger companies, could never dictate to me because they knew, you know, I had my own way and my own creativeness and my own energy and all that, you know, where some of these guys, you know, they need to be told exactly what to say, how to say. And even when they do that, they can't perform. I mean, it's just, you know, I never understood that. And my other thing was like, you know, I always tell people like your cum shot, you know, that moment and time that you're on screen is documented forever. Doesn't matter, you know, 20 years, 30 years, somebody's going to find it. You dribble, that's what they're going to remember. You squirt, that's what they're going to remember. You know, if you're boring, you fall into the cracks. I'm not boring. I'm energy. I have, you know, passion when it comes to sex. I have rawness when it comes to sex, and I breathe sex. I mean, that's who I am. And, you know, I'm glad that I had that opportunity to, you know, be able to extend myself, and with, you know, doing stuff for those videos with Palm Drive, and Home Alone is always going to fuck you up. You know, that is just, you know, a classic intimacy of me, but not at my fullest, because again, you know, I just held back a little bit, and I wish I kind of would have not, and, you know, extended myself to, you know, inquire. But again, it was just not the time or the place, I guess, for the way, you know, things were. Now I would do a whole hell of a lot more than, you know, and you know, a different, you know, extension of myself on that. But again, like I said, it was just a time and a place, you know, and as anything, it always has it.
Thank you, Donnie. Somewhere we lost Thrasher. Hopefully he'll call back in, and I'll bring him into the studio once he kind of comes back in. To Alex and Ryan, one of the things that caught my attention in your documentary was actually, you know, Palm Videos. You know, it was more than just well, I mean, it was still fetish stuff, but like their sports videos. You know, where I guess, you know, they had the wrestling and all that. It's kind of two-part question. Was that a big, you know, how big was that component of their business? Number one, but number two, I mean, did they really just, I guess, go to like college wrestling matches and just, you know, film the athletes? Like how they get the footage, I guess, is the second part of that question.
I mean, Jack and Mark are constantly filming. Still, even to this day. I mean, we would be filming them, and Jack would have his camera out, right? We had another Q&A recently, and Jack pulled up his camcorder and was filming the computer screen, right? So they are just people that are just constantly documenting what's going on around them, which is something really fascinating, I think, for Alex and I. And in terms of the sports videos, I mean, they put themselves in some interesting situations. Like Jack went to the Police Olympics in Bakersfield, California for a week, right, Alex? And shot these police officers doing, you know, wrestling and, you know, boxing and, you know, the Police Olympics. And Jack was just, this was kind of also when folks were not necessarily as sort of attuned to, you know, people being around with cameras and filming and what that meant. So they were able to just kind of fly under the radar, right? And just go to these events or bodybuilding contests at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, for instance, and just go and film those. And they were just dudes with cameras, right? Nobody really knew what they were up to. And then they put out these kind of Palm Drive sports films. Mm-hmm. Alex, I don't know if you have anything you want to say.
Well, also like the street fairs, like the Folsom Street Fair, Dory Alley, like they recorded those, and they really talked about really wanting to record moments in time, just to like, you're recording people, styles, like different things going on at the time. So it was like Ryan was saying, they just recorded everything, trying to catch what they could.
The in terms of the editing process, like when you're putting the documentary together, I was kind of curious. I full disclosure, and watching certain parts of the doc, I really had to do for certain things. I kind of had to block the image where I'm like, that's a little bit too much for me. Most everything was fine, but there was a few things. I mean, did you have, like, quite frankly, those moments in going through the footage where you were like, oh, that's that's a little bit too far, or did nothing faze you, or like did something surprise you? I'm just kind of curious.
I would say that we probably toughened up as we went along. At first, I think the shock value was a little intense, and then towards the end, my partner, my husband, would come into my editing studio, and I'd be editing like puke porn or cock and ball torture, whatever. And I would just be like, unfazed by it. And my husband would come in and be like, what are you doing? Like, and he's like, are you just totally like desensitized to this? And I was like, I guess so. I've been looking at it for the past 5 years, So, I mean, I would say, yeah, at first we were shocked, and then it just kind of became footage.
What I think it was important, just because of the subject matter, we wanted to make sure that we characterized it, as it should be. We didn't want to gloss over things or hide things. We wanted to make sure that like people were getting the full impact of some of those videos.
Well, I definitely got some back in some of those videos. No, go ahead, Ryan. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, to bounce off of that, it was really hard to fund this project. I mean, you say gay fetish porn, and people with money like run the other way, right? So a lot of our support for this film was through kind of leather and kink communities. We had a couple events in San Francisco at Mr. S. Leather and at the Stud, and the community, kind of queer communities really who are interested in this subject really came to the forefront and helped us make this movie. So we always kind of thought of it as a community project as well. And since those were some of the folks that were the most kind of adamant sort of supporters of us financially and just kind of emotionally as we're pulling the film together, we also wanted to make a film that was for the community, right? That was for kink and leather communities, and again, as Alex said, not shy away from some of that more kind of in your face content, because that's in some ways what Palm Drive was all about.
I think, Alex, you made the comment, or maybe it was you, Ryan. I lost track. You guys have been working on this for 5 years, the documentary.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yes.
It's a lot of footage to go through. I'm sure you kind of probably alluded to a lot of it's just the funding to get it done, just to bring it in. Well, no, kudos to you. And I think sometimes people forget how long it takes to actually put some documentaries together. Kind of quick going around the room, and we can start with Thrasher. Like, what's going on with your life right now?
Well, right now I'm out in California. I've got 2 sons in their 20s, a couple of hardworking kids, raising them. I haven't worked in a couple years now. Basically, since the making of the video, I traveled the country and then ended up back here in California. And man, I'm not really doing a lot. Car shows, and I play music, play harmonica, and I'm just a pretty much stay-at-home guy.
No, nothing wrong there. And then actually, I saw one of your sons pop in before we started recording and all that. How about you, Donnie?
Just the same thing I've been doing nothing really changes with me except, age. But, I'm just exactly what I was doing in the 90s, 80s. I'm still doing in, now. I'm still working at a funeral home. I've been doing that for 40 years and part-time, and, just Jim, blah blah blah. It's just like you said. I'm a very consistent type individual with life, and just grounded. I just have my regiment, Jim, this that, and basically just day to day.
But you're staying in great shape, by the way.
Thank you. Except I fell. I broke two of my teeth and I fractured my shoulders. So yeah, so and fractured my jaw. So I'm kind of like in the midst of but that's another topic.
It's always tough. Over the holidays, I was playing with my son and he knocked me off the bed and I broke my wrist.
Oh, God, yeah. So yeah, it's always something. Life is always full of those unexpected things. You think you're just going to go down a set of stairs and not realize that you're going to be a part of the stairs. But anyhow, so.
How about you, Susan?
Well, New Hampshire isn't California or the Bay Area. And so it's taken, I grew up here, so I knew about it. But it's quiet. It's, I used to think it was dull. And in some ways, maybe it still is, but I'm fine. I've got oodles of things to do. We've been quarantined, or whatever you want to call it, on lockdown. One of the people I worked with said, well, I hate it. He said, I've been in jail for a year. I said, in jail? Yeah, he said, the pandemic. Yeah, right. I've been happily married for 25 years. That was a new one. When Jack and Mark knew me, I was going through my serial monogamy stage. I've pretty much retired. I do a lot of gardening. I'm just, I'm an 80-year-old. Well, not quite, but darn close. So it's just, Donnie was saying it's like day to day. It's like, and it's really nice. Used to think it had to be on the go all the time. So there's something about aging and where I am now that's refreshing.
No, that's great. And you got a great...
No, you're not going to convince me that you slowed down.
That I've what?
That you haven't slowed down.
Oh. Seems like it to me, but anyway.
And then Alex and Ryan,
my computer.
Alex and Ryan, I guess two parts. One is where are you hoping the film goes from now, and then actually what's your next project once next thing you got coming down the pipe.
Alex, do you want to take this or?
We're waiting to see where it goes with festivals. Really excited after 5 years to see it out in the world and share it with people and talk about it. And Ryan, I don't know if you want to talk about next project.
Sure. So we actually, this is very, kind of at the beginning stages, but we are actually discussing a project with Donnie and possibly doing something about Donnie's life and Donnie's career. So I can't really say much more about that because we've just kind of had some of our initial conversations with Donnie, but we're excited to kind of be moving forward working with him.
Good for you. Good for you, Donnie.
Thank you.
Great idea. Well done.
No, excellent. And look, I think, like you guys kind of hit it. There's definitely an audience for your film and just the history of it. I mean, there's going to be an interest. I was definitely interested in watching your film. Like I said, there were some moments I had to go like this, but otherwise, I dealt with most of it.
I can't wait.
Just fine. And I really hope, honestly, me personally, I think it'll do well in the festival circuit film. And I also hope it does well outside just the regular LGBT film festival circuit, and it makes some just like doc film festivals, and also just, for lack of a better word, mainstream film festivals, just for people to see it. Because, everybody has their fetishes in their background, and that they maybe keep quiet. And it's good to know that, hey, you're not alone. There's plenty of people like you around there, and then we're all just only human. And then actually it'll be, hopefully everything takes off with the next doc with Donnie, and then and then quicker than 5 years we see you guys back here again,
Right.
talking about that one. And hopefully with the success of this one, you're able to get quicker funding for the next one. So instead of 5 years, you're down to just 1.5, and all that. Yeah, fingers crossed. Well, everybody, I want to thank you again for taking the time here to do this virtual Q&A. Alex and Ryan, thank you for making the film, letting us show it. Thrasher, Susan, Donnie, thank you again for being here today for the Q&A. And yeah, it's been enjoyable.
Can I ask a quick question of Donnie and Thrasher?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep.
So, since this is the first time Donnie and Thrasher have been together for 28 years, one thing that was really impressive, looking through the kind of the unedited tapes of your footage from Rough Night at the Jockstrap Gym, was that it seemed like you two were just having a blast. I know you didn't know each other, but I mean, when we look at that footage of the two of you kind of behind the scenes, it looked like you were having a lot of fun. There was a lot of goofing around. There was a lot of flexing. There was just a lot of kind of, and I just wonder if you two remember that. Do you remember having a good time together?
I always remember his red hat. He had the ball cap on. Remember the ball cap?
Yeah, I came in.
And curly,
Oh,
you
go
had
ahead.
curly, like blondish hair tips, and he had a scruffy beard and mustache. That's what I remember. And the thing is, it was a natural thing when I flexed my body, and you're like, and it was just the chemistry. If you didn't know, like, it was being filmed, you would have just thought it was just two guys playing around and having a good time. And that's what I think that video showed. And, the response to you, to me, and me to you, it wasn't like, the peacock, oh man, and, it just, I think, and the film, I think, speaks for it. It just flowed naturally. There was no stumbling. There wasn't like, oh man, what are you doing? It just went. And, I think that's why it's been perceived. And everybody that I know, and I know a lot of people that have seen that, and they all say the same thing, and like I said, and it's not about stroking your ego or anything, because, but, I have a good, that was a good set up for what, would be. And I think, it's a great, film. And I'm proud that you and I did that. And, and it was filmed, and documented like the way it is. And, Jack and Mark both did the, great job of, piecing it, but I don't think it really needed a lot of attention to be pieced, to make it happen.
Agreed. No, I was totally comfortable meeting him. I just made it, I don't know. Just Jack and Mark said, just be natural, have fun, like you just met the guy. I mean, I think they just captured that, just the fact that two guys meeting, messing around at a gym.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's why it works. Like I said, I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know what kind of message it gets out there or whatever, or our interaction. But I remember just having a good time. I wasn't intimidated by Donnie. He wasn't, I don't know, obviously not intimidated by me. We were comfortable with each other, and it went well.
Yeah, I suggest you see it. I mean, you know what? I think you're going to be very surprised by the interaction between us. And, again, it's just, nobody could have told you what to do as telling me what to do in that, except there, go with it. And, it just went so well. and again, it's a great piece. And yeah, like I said, your ball cap and all, I have those fond memories of that. That's what I remember so vividly about that. And of course, the jump. I was in jams. You know, jams were very
yeah,
big.
I had just come from a softball game.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't think I have a jock strap on. I think I just had my jams on in that, because jams were so, you know, the thing, you know, and sneakers I think I had on, and, you know, had the jock on and stuff. So, you know.
I got to get this video. I got to get this video.
Yeah, you know what? All you gotta do is just go Google it and pop up. I mean, you know, like I said,
I can Google it. I can Google it, Donnie.
I think so. Yeah, I Googled the other day. You know, jockstrap gym, and it comes up.
I'm at the jockstrap gym.
Oh, Steve, I'm going to share it with your boys.
Well, he was actually, I gotta say, surprisingly, you know, when, you know, because I never know what to expect. And, you know, you were hot back then. I mean, you know, it's just, you had that whole, you know,
yeah.
I wanted to use this, I don't know, with everything today, but like, you know, a redneck type, you know, just straight, you know, kind of like, you know, I can't think of the word, but, you know, a sense about yourself. And that's what was attractive to me too. Like, I was like, oh, all right, this dude seems, you know, pretty hot. And, you know, and the thing is, like I said, you know, it just went well. When you took my bicep and you pat that down, you know, that's one of the most monumental things I also remember that film is when you're like, oh, big bite, you know, and then you're like this, and, you know. But again, you know, you must see it, and you know, it's one thing you should definitely see.
Listen, most mothers don't get to see this kind of thing. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, well, you know,
I love it.
Brought a lot of pleasure to a lot of people.
Well, here's the deal.
Yeah.
Here's the deal, Donnie.
Yes, sir.
Jack and Mark used to let me loose on their other guys. You know. To really wrestle them. There was a couple of big redneck guys, man. I schooled on how to really wrestle, you know, because they were all
that's good.
Fake wrestling, this and that, fake slaps and stuff. And then I would always say, "Hey, you want to wrestle for real?" and you know, we do that, but thankfully not, because I probably have bad shoulders still if we did, but no, what we did was a natural meeting of two guys working out, fucking around, having a good time. That's the way I look at it. And thankfully it was filmed.
Yes. And, you know, it had to be refilmed. What was great about it wasn't one of those type of situations where, you know, they say, okay, redo us, you know. I didn't like, you know, it's like you're not, you know, it never had that stumbleness to it. Like, you know, on some sets where, you know, guys can't get it up, guys can't get it off, guys, you know, there was just, again, it just went smoothly. And you know what? You didn't know the camera was on. I didn't know the camera was on either. I mean, you know, there's, you know, again, that aspect of it where, you know, the naturalness of it is conveyed by just what is going on with two guys. And it's not about gay sex. That's the whole thing. I never looked at it like, you know,
right.
When people's, you know, the title and all, it never, I never look at it like that. I never perceive it like, you know, it's sex, you know, and it's just, again, it's like I said, you got to see it. Just see it for once. Anyway, 28 years, 29 years, whatever it's been, it's you know, it's time.
And then you can Google it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry about the Google thing, but you know, like I don't want to get nobody in trouble. But you know, that's, you know, like. Yeah.
All righty, everybody.
Oh, Steve.
Yeah. Thank you.
You know,
again
I
for
didn't
being
think
here.
I'd have one. I didn't think I'd have one last thing to kind of hold over him. I don't really care.
I'm telling you that he had a red ball cap on. He looked really
Good.
hot. Yes,
Good.
that's most.
Do you have anything else on? Oh, he had the jock
I
strap
had
on.
the jock strap on. Not for that. I don't remember. You know, like I said.
All right.
All right, everybody. Again, thank you again for making this a really
Fine,
fun
nice.
Q&A and being part of here. We're gonna end by playing the trailer from the film. And
good.
yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank
Nice
you.
to meet you,
You
Donnie.
too.
Nice to meet you.
Good. Bye.
Honored.
Slip on your cowboy boots.
With this? Are you sure? With socks?
Yeah.
Stylistically, Palm Drive videos are like almost candid camera, if you will. Candid camera of the leather scene.
Palm Drive found good-looking people that were into some of the wildest and weirdest things.
They're among the best filmmakers in the leather community.
Yes, I see how it's porn, but I also see how you could like take this to the Whitney and put this in the avant-garde film section because it works both ways.
I wanted to be an exhibitionist, and I wanted to try these things, and I loved that I was being filmed doing it.
Palm Drive Video was a small two-person run video company. We needed to produce the videos, we needed to edit the videos, we needed to market the videos.
American culture was insane sexually in the 80s. So we had to create some lunacy that celebrated the fun of sex. Marty and I started making videos when we couldn't find the porn we liked to watch.